Hello, Francesca. Welcome
Hello, Olivia.
for accepting the invitation to have this cup of tea with me and with all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me to be invited here. So very happy.
Well, I'd like to introduce you really quickly to all the Brazilians and to anyone who would like to will enjoy with us this cup of tea and tell us about you a little bit. I know you were Italian from Milan. You were a lawyer, a collaborative lawyer. So would you like to tell us? We would like to get to know you better. Tell us about you.
Okay. So yes, I'm Italian. I live in Italy, but my father was English, so I'm also half English. This is why I have an English surname after all. I've always lived in Italy, in Milan, really, where I was born, where I studied. So I have spent some months away at university, but I think my whole life really has been here in Milan. So a bit boring maybe, but this is it.
Same with me. I was born in Rio and I live in Rio, and I think I'm going to stay in Rio.
Yeah. So. And so I'm a family lawyer. I wasn't always going to be that. So when I had I studied law because I was very interested in the human rights theme, really, and international law and that kind of area. Then I thought I wanted to be a judge, and I also studied we have what we call a concorso pubblico to become a judge. You're not appointed. I think it's similar.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I also studied to do that. But in the end, what I ended to tell myself is that I don't like judging people. So that wasn't the right place for myself. And so I had all this, navigating different areas. And I graduated in criminal law, in crimes in the family, like domestic violence and all of that. But as a lawyer, I really wanted to help families before this conflict would explode. So then I sort of moved in the more civil area, and this is how I actually started to do what I do. And I wasn't satisfied with the way you could help families traditionally in my work. I didn't like going to court a lot, but also I didn't like all those situations when you have to contest small behaviors, like he took away the lamps of my grandmother, my husband did this, and you have to write these very long letters, complaining. And I remember just doing this and thinking, this is not useful for anybody. It doesn't help my client, it's just frustrating. And so then when I heard about collaborative practice in 2010, I thought, I like this, because this is a way I can be a lawyer, but do it in a more constructive way somehow. And I had done some mediation trainings, and I liked the skills very much, but I did prefer the idea of being allied of one of the parties somehow, but in a constructive way. So collaborative really spoke to me that this was a real possibility. So that's why I liked it. Yeah.
How did you heard about collaborative practice? How did it arrive to your life?
There was a conference in the university in Milan. I can't remember who told me about it. And it was by a professor who had studied in Paris, in France, and I'd heard about it. And so it was a very sort of general talking about this, and I went there and I really liked it. So then I started to get informed a bit more and see what was going on. Understood that the way they were talking about it at the conference was not so precise, it was, but the idea was there. And so together with others, we got in contact with some Canadian collaborative lawyers, and we organized the first training in Milan, and that I attended as a student, as a pupil, and that really opened to me a new way of working, of helping families. But I really said I like that very much.
So that's interesting, because you didn't decided to go out to have your training. You decided to bring a training to your area, to your community, and to have the training together with your partners, your friends.
Yeah. So we were 50 in the first training, 50 lawyers, only lawyers. I think of that group, only like 20 remained really involved. They were the most interested people. And after that, there was a conference in Germany, in Munich. So the training was in March, the conference was in July, and I heard about it, and I just thought, let's go and see what it is. And there I met ICP as a concept, a lot of like Sherry Goran-Sloven was president. So I met her, I met Susan Hansen, and the other people that were there, and started understanding about also the interdisciplinary teams, which in my training was not even mentioned. So understood there was more to learn. And a colleague of mine, Carla Marcucci, went to the next forum, which was in Washington. And she came back like, wow, we have to change the world. And she was very able to sort of, you know, to give us her enthusiasm, and we were all into it. And so that's how we started.
And how was in the beginning when we started bringing that idea to Italy? Did you face resistance, or people were welcoming that idea? Which kind of challenges you faced?
It was interesting because many lawyers that had been working in this field for a lot of time really liked the idea, saw how it could be powerful and helpful, and so they were very interested. But at the same time, the refrain was, it will never work in Italy. This is something they do in America. We are much more litigious, it's not our world, it's just not for us. So there was, you know, interest on one side, but total resistance on the other. And lawyers didn't really want to involve other professionals. So the main struggle was that we founded a practice group in Milan, and I remember like the first probably 2 years, we didn't have any case, and the main topic of our meetings was why collaborative practice will never work in Italy, which was so frustrating, you know, after a while. But I and a couple of others were really convinced that there was a sort of, you know, cultural maybe revolution we had to do, but it was not impossible. And so we just were stubborn and kept insisting, and we had conference at the Bar Association with other lawyers, and sort of in the end this sort of worked more and more. And then I think the world was also changing independently, so there was much more focus on lawyers being able to help families without going to court, on mediation. And so I think all of this helped. And it also helped a lot of clients to understand that you don't have to go to court if you want a divorce. You don't have to, if you have a lawyer, it doesn't mean fighting, you know, that kind of equation, which is still there, but in a way, I think it's sort of shifting a bit.
And did you think in Italy that resistance came more from the professionals or from the clients, the society? Which one do you?
I think in my mind, it was more from the professionals. Yeah. I think there was a lot of resistance. As I was saying, there was a lot of professionals understood the good, but they were at the same time frightened, like the disqualification clause made them feel afraid they would lose the clients. The idea of bringing other professionals made them feel that they were losing their position, their role, you know. I think that was difficult to accept.
One thing that I heard, no, sorry, go ahead.
No, I said it still is for a lot of professionals.
Yeah, it's a transition, right? It's a process. Still going on, and it will always. But one thing that I heard when I first started talking about that collaborative practices in Brazil was that, oh no, our society is very litigious. You know, we are very belligerent. You know, the Brazilians, they don't know how to dialogue. Like putting on the society. And when I was starting to tell about that idea on my office, what I could notice that clients were saying, "Oh God, that's exactly what I want." I didn't know that that exists, because so that's kind of a belief that did you have the same feeling?
Yeah. A lot of people went on saying that Americans are, you know, North Americans are different. They have negotiations. They have this. They have that. They have a different way to deal with their emotions, and we just cannot. And it is true that we have different ways to deal with our emotion, but that doesn't mean you can't do collaborative. You know, it will probably look different than a collaborative that you can do in Chicago, maybe. I don't know, maybe. But there's always a way where you can actually, you know, address even strong emotions and at the same time try and find an agreement that is of interest, has the interest of everybody in the center, you know. Yeah.
You can adapt to your culture and, you know, our own peculiarities. And
another funny thing was when we had the trainings, our trainers always said, "Oh, we have some biscuits or something to eat on the table." And I remember a lot of resistance on this. "Oh, we don't have food on the table." And if you bring a plate of biscuits on a table in Italy, everybody eats it and it's happy. So it's just a matter of habit, really, isn't it?
I love it, your website, and I noticed that there's a nice big picture of this cup of tea or coffee, biscuits, and some sweet, I think. You know, I loved it. It's right there, like showing what
that's what we try to do.
Yes, I love that. It's so true. How about, is mediation very popular in Italy? For how long? It came before collaborative practice?
So it came before. So we have to distinguish family mediation and more civil and commercial mediation. So family mediation was there before, but it was traditionally the mediators were a psychologist or with a psychology background, and they were really only helping the couples work on their dialogue and children, and there was not a lot of attention on the economical aspects of a separation. This has changed a lot, and now even if there are still mediators that have this sort of traditional perspective, a lot of mediators now have maybe a law background, or even if they don't, they understand the benefit of actually looking at a sort of overall agreement that covers all the aspects. And so I think that helped a lot in making it a bit more successful than it was at the beginning. Mediation out of the family is for many subjects is compulsory, so you have to try a mediation before you go to court for a lot of matters. So it's become something that people started to hear about, maybe didn't understand, but it was something, you know, they had to hear about, and so it became a bit more popular somehow.
And do you know if there's already in universities they are talking about mediation to the students?
Yeah, they're talking about mediation. They're starting to talk about also negotiation, and so negotiation skills and that in some university at least. And in Milan, they have started with some seminars, workshops on collaborative practice. Very small though, and very sort of, it really depends on the professor. If he knows about it and if he's interested, then he actually brings it there. Yeah.
And one thing that I noticed that is common in our movements and our initiatives in Italy and in Brazil is that you translated and published a book. And how did you, that made a difference of bringing that idea? Why did you, because I don't know other countries that have done the same work, translating. How do you?
I think it was for two reasons. One is, I think in our culture, something that has a written description, a written model, a written container has more value in a way, is more respectful somehow. And so it's more understandable. So that was, I think, one of the reasons. And so this is, I think, the main reason why a group of us published a book in Italian that was done totally in Italian, that really tried to explain how collaborative practice could fit in the Italian judicial system, and sort of in a way elevated to something that had its own dignity as another law institute could have somehow. I think the greatest impact we had instead from translating, we translated Nancy Cameron's book, which is a book that's not, well, it's theoretical, but it has all of that emotional component into all that part regarding, you know, the work that a professional has to do on itself and how to look into yourself, the paradigm shift, all of that. And I think for collaborative professional, that reading that book was very meaningful. And in Italy, only from my generation onwards, not many professionals are fluent in English. So it was an opportunity to give them access to some of that material as well. And as you know, it's hard work to translate a book like that. We had plans to do others, but we haven't actually managed to accomplish that yet. So
a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Yeah. Because it's not just translating. You have to sort of rethink how to fit that content in your own culture, in your own language, in your system. So yes, it's a lot of work.
Yes, but I totally agree with you that work of doing that adaptation or bringing to culture, it's a necessary work to absorb and to share with others. I think in Brazil it's the same thing. When you have a book, it's like you bring, it's a concrete, you bring it to the world, of material world, so you can touch, it's more, it helps in that understanding and accepting, trying to bring it. Oh, my English is warming up still.
And I think another thing that helped a lot to bring to reality this concept was when we started to do our own basic trainings. We had a long period where we brought trainers from the US or Canada, and then we started to step into the training, maybe doing little pieces or explaining how it could adapt to where it was different. And then we felt confidence of being able to do our training, and that makes it feel something real, because you have Italian professionals that are talking about their own experience, of having cases and it's not just a theoretical model from the other side of the ocean.
Yes, like you're incorporating that.
Yeah.
day by day in our practice, in our coaching. It's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, nice. This is so. And how was it? Tell about your work and your story with IACP. How did you become the first president out of the United States and Canada, right?
Right. I don't know. Well, since I'm quite fluent in English, I started, and I like traveling. So I was always the one volunteering if there was something to do internationally. And so that's one of the reasons why I was from the very beginning in contact with IACP. My first forum was in Chicago in 2012. I think it was your first time too, wasn't it?
Yes. Were you there by yourself? Did you went with someone?
I was there. We were, I think, in four from Italy or something like that. And I really liked the idea of an organization that was sort of looking at this globally and making a big effort to develop this in every part of the country, because in Italy, at least, I had the impression that when I was able to explain that this was not something local, but an international movement, people felt they were part of something important. And so I liked this aspect a lot. And so that's how I was involved. And it started like this, I think. And in Italy, we say that one thing brings the other. And so that's how it was there. I applied to step on the board of ICP, and it was a transitioning time. So the historical executive director just changed, and there was a lot of work to do. And I'm sorry, let me do this. I just did it. I don't know. And so that's how it was, I think. Probably I was when the time were right to do this, I was there. I think that was a bit of a chance, really. And ICP was struggling to really be an international organization and not so much a US centric. And so that's really how it happened, I think.
Yeah, I think it's important to say, for those who doesn't know IACP, that it's an international organization, non-profit international organization, and people very open to volunteering and to people get engaged and to take place in committees and to get to start. That's how we start to be part of the movement, and I think that's how I'm also getting more and more close to IACP. It's always very welcoming to people's work and engagement. So that's
I think the greatest quality of ICP is really to be like a sort of connector of different countries, different experiences. So it puts people into contact. It creates that kind of exchange. And there are people there that have a really incredible amount of expertise, of know-how, and they're all willing to share, which is not so common in I'm speaking more as a lawyer now, but in an organization that I've been working for, this generosity, from materials to ideas, it's not so common. And I like that. Yeah.
Francesca, like you, when I decided to study law, I was thinking about international organizations like UN, and I wanted to work with human rights, and was with all this. And during my college years and first year, I didn't find much opportunity to work with everything. Seems to me so bureaucratic and kind of, or at least in my experience, far from people, and I didn't find myself in any opportunity to really develop to that international career. And then the feeling I have today is that from another path, I got there. I got in a kind of a UN, you know.
Yeah,
There's,
yeah,
and I think we are talking about the most human of the law is that, you know,
yeah.
family law, people's lives. And I think that really makes me very emotional because I think that this group, our group, is like the big international, I don't know, community that is doing very special and revolutionary work. So
Yeah, I agree.
in a way, we got there, you know, I think.
I agree. You know, I never thought of it this way, but I think you're right. I like this perspective. Yes.
UN, you know, like the
Yeah.
collaborative UN.
UN. Yes. Yes.
And then, but yeah, so what else? How about that, all of that we are facing, that pandemic? How I would like to ask you in both ways, professionally for
Mm,
practice of law and the collaborative movement, and also personally because you know we are all perplexed with all of that pandemic situation. But
mm,
remember, at the very beginning of the quarantine, we had a conversation. Remember, like I
yeah.
don't know, you are. Let's set a chat. Let's talk because Italy was very much in the news at the. So, how
Mm,
was it to you? Would you share with us both views, personally and
mm.
professionally, about the
Um,
effects of all
it,
of that?
it certainly was and is still very challenging. Sort of personally, for me, I think that the main challenge was this uncertainty that I had to live with. I I wouldn't describe myself as very, you know, organized and planning. I'm quite always been quite open to what comes. Um, but the idea that I couldn't even, you know, think or imagine something like a trip that I could do or do, you know, even very stupid things like go out shopping or go out and have a cup of coffee, and that you couldn't do that and you couldn't even imagine when you could. That I found very hard personally. And in fact, I think I found more hard the idea of what I was not able to plan or think. That idea of a bit of a lack of freedom that I than the real life. I mean, I know I'm lucky and I'm privileged. I live in a nice house. I discovered the pleasure of having a little balcony, and you know how I could get the best out of it. Um, and so it wasn't. I can't say it was hard for me. I know it was very hard for a lot of people, but I know I was privileged in that. But at the same time, it was hard, and this should have been a year of a lot of travels for me. As president of ICP, I was supposed to travel in Europe a lot, in Israel. I was supposed to go to Asia, um, and this just was cancelled. You know, so. And as I said, one of the things I like about working with ICP is traveling. So it was a bit of a change of, you know, perspective somehow. Um, I think this uncertainty is what we also had to face professionally. You know, clients, at least in Italy at the beginning, everything sort of shut down, and a lot of people didn't think they could even talk about doing things or, you know, like thinking of a separation or a divorce. It was just like everybody was
Freeze.
freezing, like, okay, let's see what happens.
Yes.
And then it sort of became longer and longer, and life goes on. And so that was, how do you deal with life going on while you're stuck at the same time? I think that was the most difficult part for a lot of people, and we had to face as professional being adaptive and changing our habits, and you know, from having a lot of meetings on Zoom. And um, I set off with the prejudice that it was totally different to meet somebody in person and than on Zoom, and of course it is. But I discovered that, especially on a one-to-one basis, you can have very deep and meaningful conversation with somebody on Zoom. be it a client, be it a friend. We probably talked more on Zoom, me and you, than we did before, and I felt that connection strongly. And this is a discovery, you know, that I had, at least. And so interesting times, you know, with opportunities and challenges. And I hope we've learned something collectively. I'm not sure that we did. Sometimes I'm not so positive. It seems that, you know, as communities, we tend to repeat the same mistakes. But as individuals or small communities, maybe it's easier to gain what you've learned. I know now in Italy, we are better off than many other countries at the moment. So our numbers went really down before the summer. Then summer people relaxed a lot. And parties and things went on. So our numbers rised again, but in a much more, at the moment, limited level than other European countries like England or France or Spain. We're much in a better position, and I hope we can stay there, because I don't think we can face another lockdown psychologically, you know, as a society. I think it would be very, very hard.
Very heavy.
Like, yeah.
Because yeah, that's yeah, I understand it's heavy, but since we have that experience before, we could say yes, we can do it again.
We can do it.
Yeah, we will survive. Now we already know. At the first time, we didn't know what that means, what will happen. Now we know that might take a while, and we should understand. So
yeah,
it should be like that, you know, because
one thing that struck me is how used you get to things that seemed unacceptable before. Like at the beginning, it was unacceptable to think that you had to wear a mask, and then we all wear masks, and then it's just normal to wear masks, you know, and it becomes. Sometimes I watch movies or old programs on TV where people are all together, and my reaction is, no, you're too close. What are you doing? And I say, wow, no, let's hope we can go back to actually being all, you know, crammed together. And but now when I see these situations, I feel, no, it's wrong. That's not what you should do. And that strikes me, you know, how you can get used to things like that.
Yeah, exactly. My daughter told me one day we were driving around and she was looking to people wearing masks, and she said, you know what? I'm getting used to the people with masks. And then in a second she said, but I don't want to get used to that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so like I don't think that's going to be the new normal, like people likes to say. But that's something that is that's unpleasant. Unpleasant is not the best word. It's like this difficult situations in life. It's just part of life. Like we deal with conflict. We deal with people facing such a adverse situation.
Yeah.
We should learn that they are all transitional situations.
Yeah.
So it's just a transition, and it's needed. We need to do, because that's what the flux of life.
Yeah.
You know, that's how.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my hope.
I think, that the collaborative community reacted quite well. I think probably as collaborative professionals, we have developed, you know, a bigger range of skills of adaptation, of facing the complexity of life, that I think helped us all quite well. And I think internationally, we really managed to do a lot. You know, we sort of focused on, we can't meet in person. Okay, let's have webinars, let's have meetings, let's have that kind of connection. And I think it helped a lot to make people feel connected, even if they are very far away. And I think that was an opportunity. I'm quite curious about the forum, how it will be, because it has always been a place of human connection, education, but that connection was so strong. that energy. So we're working really hard to make that happen. I hope it will be. I'm curious because I don't know how it will be. So
yeah, I was gonna ask you something before talking about the forum, but then I'll change because we started talking about the forum.
yeah.
And
Sorry.
no, that's wonderful. It's because I remember, because while we're talking, I keep remembering some things. So I'll go to my before, and then we talk about.
Go.
I think it's going to be a very important part of our conversation. Did you heard in Italy about, of course, the increasing number of divorces and domestic violence and all of that situation? How about did the lawyers were like talking about, hey, we are going to have a lot of cases and the quarantine is over and we're going to have a lot of work? And so do you see that the collaborative community could bring another option to help settle those very, very, how they say, inflammatory situations of to live while it's happening, like to bring peace into the room and helping people to adapt and to do that even during the quarantine, like, working with dialogue? Just a curiosity, because I've heard that in Brazil, many lawyers say, we're waiting for the end of the quarantine, we're having all of this new process,
I think at the beginning of the quarantine, this was the feeling, like when it ends, people will be ready to, can't stand each other anymore. I think at the beginning we had no idea how long this would be and how long the effects would be. Like now we are not in a quarantine mode anymore. So in Italy, we have restrictions, we have to wear masks, but you can go outside and courts are reopening. But I filed for a separation in June and I have a hearing end of January. So this is the effect that we will face. So it's so long that now I understand I can hear a lot of lawyers saying we have to do something before. It's too long. Yes, you have maybe more cases, maybe you file them, but then what happens in between? It's like no man's land, and that doesn't work, So I think part of, even it was a bit of joke mode, like saying, yes, we will have all these cases, like babies and divorces was the two outcomes you could possibly see,
That's very
depending on how the situation was. I think those who were already collaborative professionals immediately were trying to work during the quarantine, exploring Zoom, exploring online meetings. I can see a lot of lawyers that are not trained collaboratively that are looking now at collaborative as an opportunity to do things while this is going on, because it's not only the quarantine, it's the long wave this brings with it. And it's long wave economically, an economic crisis that we are living. Italy is a place of tourism, and this summer, this springtime was hard, for all those that live on this. But it's also, so there's that, and there's the social effects and people that are maybe losing their job now. They kept it before, but a lot of businesses are, facing a big crisis right now. So it's not something that, okay, quarantine ends and we're back to normal. It's not that. It's long. Yeah. And court has resented this as well, because it was closed for a lot of time. And so, of course, there's things that, layers of stuff that haven't been dealt with. And it was never very fast in Italy. So it's
here in Brazil, the same thing. Oh my God. Yeah. So no more, it's time to collaboration, right? Like having that conversation, it's not an option, almost. It's
not an option,
right?
Yeah.
Because of that need, what is important, and people are also balancing, what is important Should I, like you said in the beginning, go to that little behavior and do all of that, or should I find a better way to deal with my pain and my my suffering? So I think people are doing this check.
And I think this helps. Sorry.
No, that's
I think this helps also the conversation with those clients that think they would have a better, that want a judge, want a third party to decide. And sometimes they say, well, you know, my partner, my wife, my husband will never want to sit around a table, you know, and that is the excuse to avoid it. And now when you say, yes, but you understand that you will have to wait until 7 months, 8 months, or we can try before, And this is a good way to bring clients to reflect on this as an opportunity. And yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about the forum. Because you said that you went to the forum first time 2012, and then you always keep coming back.
Yeah.
Why that?
Yeah. Why? Because
why
I think
so magical.
I think because it has always been for me a place of where I could recharge my batteries, my faith in collaborative, my enthusiasm. And sometimes, especially in the first years when nothing was happening here and we had all this resistance, no cases, it was hard to keep saying, no, this is a thing that's going to work, that I like. And so I remember just, you know, going to the forum, arriving maybe a bit tired and exhausted, and coming back, you know, full of enthusiasm and saying, yes, I know it's right, you know, and somewhere it happens, and we all struggle. And that also is important to understand, that you share the good and the bad things with other people that are in your situation. So, and then when things started to move in Italy and we had cases and numbers were growing, it was a way to learn more and come back and really feeling that there were different ways to do it, different opportunities. And I think that connection part was always very important to me. I've learned a lot at forums. I've always done a lot of workshops and come back with a lot of materials. So there was that, of course. But I think what I really liked is that feeling of coming together, you know, of a community that's all around the world that comes together for a couple of days. And yeah, so I hope we can do this online too.
I totally agree. It's that the same feeling listening to you. I was thinking, like, she's talking about me. Like, you didn't say that your family comes from England, right? Your father.
Yeah.
Maybe we are cousins because we know that we are the same family. My family, my mother's family, comes from Italy. She's
wow.
Rucci Soffiati Papolini. So I said maybe we are. So that's the feeling I have when I go to the forum. It's because like I'm meeting my people, you know, like it's like such the words are not coming. Such, you know, similarity, way of thinking and feeling. So that's something that always that feeling of putting my fingers and recharging when I come back. So totally. So now it's going to be online, and would you like to tell a little bit how is it going to be? And let's talk about the translation, that it's going to be translated to our both languages.
So it's going to be, instead of normally the forum starts with a pre-forum, so a couple of days of more deepened education, and it usually goes from Wednesday to Sunday, and this year we've spread it out on 10 days instead. The goal was to make the workshops available in different time zones. Of course, most of the trainers are from North America, So we had to be also respectful of the fact that they needed to do the training in a time that was good for them as well. But I think we really managed to make sure that everywhere in the world there are opportunities where you can have it in a decent time of the day, maybe evening, maybe early morning, but there is this opportunity. The other thing is that normally at Forum you only assist to a couple of workshops because they are together, you know, in contemporary. Now the good thing is that if you want to be a Zoom addict, you can spend 10 days like 24 hours a day on Zoom. I don't think a lot of people will do that, but you can if you want to. And at the same time, once you're in the forum, you will receive the link to all the workshops. So you will be able to see the registration of a lot of workshops that you cannot attend live. So I think from an educational point of view, it offers even more than a normal forum because you actually will have access to much more materials, didactic, trainers, workshops, topics. So I think that is a great opportunity. To make it even more international, as you were saying, we've thought to put English captioning under every workshop, which helps a bit. And then thanks to the job of the Brazilian Association and the Italian Association, we were able to offer translation to quite a big number of workshops, 3 a day, which I think it's interesting in a time zone that is quite good. And I think this is a great opportunity for somebody who has not been to the forum. Thinking of the connection, so the webinars will be all done through Zoom, but you have to get into a platform that's called Pathable, which tries in a way to recreate a sort of virtual space where you can see the faces of other people, who does what, who is going to be in your workshop, who's going to be in the other workshop, and so give you a bit more idea of the participation of other people. You can send messages, you can plan meetings, you can do things on this platform that should make it a bit more connecting somehow, you know, and which is good. And so we will have the plenaries all together and find a way to make that the more interactive as possible. We're still planning details on the Saturday party, which I think was one of the most difficult parts to translate virtually, because for those of us, as you know, that are there, it was really a moment. You probably finished nearly everything. There's just one workshop in the next morning. So you're sort of relaxed. If you had a training that you had to do as a trainer, you usually have done it, and you've got the best out of it. You've met all the people you wanted to meet. So it's really a moment of when you can sort of let yourself relax and, you know, just smile and dance or have a drink, have a chat, whatever. And so I hope we can make something that's comparable to that, and fun somehow.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
It's challenging, yeah, but I'm hopeful. Yeah, hopeful that it can be a good experience.
Of course there is a challenge, and it's not going to be exactly the same, but I am focusing on that big huge opportunity of bringing the forum to people's house, you know, because I know that for, you know, Brazilians to go to another country and have all these barriers of, you know, the economy and the costs and the language. So to bring it to people's houses, I think we're going to have a lot of participation, and people will have the same feeling we have, that of being fulfilled with energy, enthusiasm to keep doing. So I think it's going to be a remarkable and a very important forum that will make before and after, I think, you know. Of course, like everything in 2020, but I think it's thinking about the spreading of, you know, and getting more people involved, I think it's going to be very democratic. It's going to be more affordable, more close to people, and I think that's an enormous gain, enormous opportunity, like you're saying.
I think so. Yeah, I think it is, and I think it should help people that maybe never had the opportunity to go to meet a world that they've just heard about and be interested and understand, and maybe it can teach us at ICP different ways that we can do when we will be able to meet in person, to offer this kind of opportunity for those who can't, no? Because we know that we who were able to go are the privileged one, that had that energy, put the fingers in the recharger, and so it probably is a way that we can help to share this privilege and make it more of a more democratic, as you were saying. Yes, I agree.
So more Francescas and Olivias will be like, yes, let's go, let's learn.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
our community and to spread that around. And so yes, we really want, and we are all very excited with that opportunity for Brazilians. I think it's going to be a great opportunity. So I'm anxious to see how it's going to be and to be part of everything, hopefully on time when it's really going. So it's going to be, I'll be there like every day. So Francesca, I think
you will have to teach me a couple of words in Portuguese, so I can, on the opening day, I can thank the Brazilian group in the proper way. I would like to do that.
Okay. And did you know that I volunteered to do a workshop of caipirinhas?
I know that. I like that very much.
Let's see how it's going to be. Oh man, I was serious about that. So we're getting to the end of our conversation, our tea time conversation. I don't know if you had a tea. I have my tea here, but
I have a tea, but it's not in a nice mug. It's in a bottle. I can just wait.
Okay.
But it's here. So I was sort of hiding it a bit. I think I can drink it too.
I don't know. I don't know if you would like to say anything else, but I was telling you that I was joking. Of course, I have this family, this big branch of my family comes from Italy. And you know what? I've never been in Italy, and I have to tell you the truth. I'm afraid of going to Italy because
why that?
Because I'm afraid of wanting to stay there forever. I think I'm afraid. So I have a lot of, not that I don't have respect for other countries, but Italy is special for me. When I go to Italy, I go to Italy. I'm not going to do like in a trip like that. It has to be
serious.
Yes, and I'm afraid of, I cannot live in other place. I fall in love in Italy, so I might stay here forever. I'm afraid of, the coming back would be hard for me. So that's why I'm not going to Italy. So like I have
for the moment. Well, I hope you do come soon, and I hope we can do something together when you come. I think it would be nice. I still regret that I didn't come to Rio last year for the conference. It just seemed too much in that moment of my life. And I just said, well, but next year I can do it. And it just teaches you, each opportunity that you lose, you might not have it again. So.
But I'm sure we have the opportunity.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too.
Cup of tea, personally, in Milan, where would you suggest us to go? Do you have an idea?
Well,
imagination here. Where
there is in
coffee.
Yeah, we probably it's better to have coffee in Milan and not a cup of tea. But anyway, an area I like very much is we have some canals that we call Navigli in Milan, and it's an old part of Milan that's been in some way sort of we renovated, and in the evenings there's a lot of young people and it's very noisy. But if you go on an afternoon, so tea time, it's nice. It's nice, and especially in a season like this when it's still warm but not too hot, you can sit outside, and it makes you feel you're not in a very busy town as Milan can be. So that's one place. And another place is, there are a lot of new things happened in Milan in the last like 5 years. We had this International Expo thing, so a lot of renovation was done, new buildings. And so we have some skyscrapers that we never had, and, you know, very new places. And that's also interesting. It could show you two different faces of the same town.
So it's registered. When I go to Milan,
I'll take you there.
An espresso there? Would you like an espresso better than
an espresso? I think so. Yeah, I would take you for an espresso. Or you can have a cappuccino. But in Italy, you usually have a cappuccino if it's morning. Yeah, but
an espresso in the afternoon.
Yeah, espresso at any time as well. Yeah. Only if you're afraid that you can't sleep, you don't drink it too late in the evening. But
well, I'd love to have cappuccinos and espressos with you when I'm going to visit you in Milan. Hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon.
And I'm gonna be happy to receive you here too in Rio de Janeiro. Of course.
I would really love to come there. Yeah.
It will happen. I don't doubt it. That's for sure.
I don't. Well,
thank you, Francesca. It's wonderful to see you and talk to you and share with you and learn about you. And thank you very much.
Thank you. It was. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I feel that we have a lot of things in common. Even maybe we are cousins, as you say. So it's always nice.
Finish that conversation, to tape that conversation. Let's talk a little bit about our families.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Kisses. Bye, Francesca.
Bye. Ciao.
Ciao.